Salam and peace. You're watching Muslim Network TV. We're there on Galaxy 19 satellite covering whole United States, Canada, and Mexico. Also on Amazon Fire TV, Apple TV, Roku, and a whole lot of social media. And also on our own website, muslimnetwork.tv. This is the only television Muslims have in America, and it is talking about something very important for all of us together. Election season is in full swings, but anxiety seems to be far higher than the campaigns themselves. Democrats are talking about voter suppression, and Republicans are talking about voter fraud. While most cannot go to vote in person, mailing a ballot seems to be the way to go, except that President Trump appointee chief of post office has dismantled 711 sorting machines, which can process larger ballot in a timely manner. And he spent $500 million dismantling those machines. Why, I wonder, and why now? President tweeted, he likes to talk through tweets. His tweet on July 30th, and I quote, with universal mail-in voting, not absentee voting, which is good, 2020 will be the most inaccurate and fraudulent election in history. It will be a great embarrassment for the United States of America. Delay the election until people can properly, securely, and safely vote. And 3 question marks after that. Intelligence officers are saying that Russia is supporting President Trump and China is supporting Vice President Biden. And now a whistleblower from the Homeland Security is saying that he was stopped from reporting on Russian interference, while a billionaire whose company processes credit card charges in America is claiming that the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia processed tens of millions of donations for President Trump in 2016 campaign, and they were intentionally below $200 because that will not require reporting. And in one quarter, 90% of donation to President Trump campaign were small donations, which did not happen to any other candidate. And after saying that, he ran away from America. His company is still here. He's sitting somewhere else. What is the world going on? What in the world is going on here? Confidence in electoral process is eroding. Election are at the core of democracy. Are you witnessing a loss of democracy here? What can we do to safeguard our elections? A conservative think tank, somebody has came up with an idea that maybe Congress should legislate that 2 former presidents, 1 Republican and 1 Democrat, President Bush and President Obama, should be appointed as sort of elections are, and budget is available, so they monitor and verify elections. I hope that could happen. I hope that increases confidence, but there may be people skeptical about of this precedent in this partisan environment. So how do we protect democracy? To discuss these questions today, we have an elected leader, Karen Yarbrough. Welcome to Muslim Network TV, Karen.
Thank you so much for the invitation to be here, Malik. I appreciate it.
Karen Yarbrough is Cook County's first African-American and female clerk. Karen served as the state representative of the 7th District for 12 years, which included Chicago's West Side and Western suburbs, as an assistant majority leader and she was an assistant majority leader in the Illinois House of Representatives. And with us is James Nelly. Welcome to Muslim Network TV, James.
Thank you for having us this morning.
James Nelly has practiced law for more than 30 years in a variety of areas. He is one of the select group of attorneys who practice regularly in the area of election laws. Well, welcome both of you to Muslim Network TV.
And
Now,
thank you.
thank you. Thank you for coming here and tell me, Chicago is part of Cook County, although our election systems are different. I'm in Cook County, Chicago is in Cook County, but a different way. People say that, Windy City, it is called because of the way we vote, because of the way politics is. And they say vote early and vote often. So each one of you, how often have you voted?
We vote once. Okay.
That's it?
But listen, thank you. Thank you so much. Let me thank you again for the opportunity to speak to your audience about this very important time coming up soon. It's the election season, and I often refer to it as the election month. And I say that because we have voting by mail, we have voting, of course, on election day, and then, of course, we have early voting. Many of your people who are probably listening, and I know you have a vast audience, but certainly the people in Cook County that I'm talking to, they probably have gotten already an application to apply for a mail ballot. Now, just listening to you a few minutes ago, you were
I can confirm that I have received it and I have applied.
Good, that's good. And let me tell you the importance of that. You've applied, and I think as of, I want to say, the 24th of September, we'll start sending the ballots out. Is that correct, James?
That is correct.
Yeah, okay, we'll start sending them out, and we just ask that people send them back as quickly as possible. Don't wait until November 2nd to send your ballot back. That's, but if it's postmarked, and we have 17 days, is it, James, between election day and until it's certified, we will count all of those ballots. As far as Windy City, Malik, let me just say part of Windy City has to do with all the politics that go on in the Chicago metropolitan area. And anybody who's been in Chicago at all in the winter months will note, especially when you get down close to the lake, it is windy. It very much so is.
Trust me, I used to be Hyde Parker, and my office is in Palmer House building. So when I cross the Wabash towards the lake, sometime I have to figure out if I need some wings or something.
Oh, yeah, I understand. But anyway, let me just get across to your listeners that we would like people to sign up to get their ballot in the mail. Now, I'm saying to use mail balloting as a backup plan, just in case you don't get to it and then, all you have in front of you is election day. So if you've already gotten that ballot in your hands, you can, take the time and search out information about the candidates that are on the ballot. And let's say if you're running out of time, we're going to have these are they blue, James? Ballot boxes.
Yeah, we'll have drop boxes.
Okay. All right. We're going to have, right now, we have scheduled to have about 50 of these ballot boxes, and they're going to be at early voting sites. They're going to be inside the polling place, and we will have an election day worker right there. You do not have to stand in line. All you have to do is come in, put your ballot in the box, and you're done.
Okay, so it is not just mailing through the postal service, but you can just walk into your neighborhood and put it there. But do you think that 50 boxes will be enough for the whole Cook County? Isn't this one of the largest county in the country?
Well, it is. And I'm going to let James speak to what some additional places that we've identified to have these ballot boxes. James?
Yes, thank you, Clerk Yarbrough. Through the clerk's efforts, we have really expanded the number of drop boxes. There are many counties within Illinois who are only going to have a couple of drop boxes for the entire county. We will have them at every early voting site. We're going to have in excess of 50 early voting sites. And as the clerk mentioned, there will be a separate area for the drop box that will be staffed by one of our employees. And people can simply come there, The employee will check to make sure the voter signed the ballot, because if you don't sign the ballot, we have to send it back to you, and that could delay your vote. So make sure the envelope is signed and drop it right in the box, and you're on your way. And the hours will be the same as early voting. So this will be Monday through Friday from 8:30 in the morning till 7 at night. And then on weekends from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So there'll be a lot of time for people to stop by while they're out running errands or doing other things and drop that ballot off. And they can drop that in any one of our 50 plus sites. We will roll out the initial sites on October 7th, which will be our main office in downtown Chicago at 69 West Washington Street. And then as well, we will have the regional courthouses that are spread throughout Cook County geographically. That's in Rolling Meadows, Skokie, Markham, Maywood, and Bridgeview. And the boxes will be located there. And then beginning on October 19th, we're going to roll out our full complement of early voting sites, which will be more than 50, will be all throughout suburban Cook County, where people can come to early vote during those hours, or if they have their mail ballot already completed, to drop it off. We're also very excited for the first time. The clerk has worked very hard. We're going to have a early voting and mail drop-off site at Union Station downtown. And for people who are commuting, that will be a great convenience for them. They can stop in and vote or drop off a ballot. And that will also be open to any other voters, whether you're a commuter or not. And that will cover the western area of the loop. And we'll have our main site, which is kind of loop central. So people have plenty of opportunities and places to drop those ballots off. Now, I do want to say, again, through the efforts of Clerk Yarbrough, voters in suburban Cook County can return those ballots postage paid. Nobody will have to put a stamp on it. You won't have to go looking for stamps or licking stamps or anything like that. It will be a postage paid return envelope. So we do encourage people, when they get those ballots, to vote right away and mail them back. And if you mail that back, anytime prior to the last week before the election, we feel confident working with the local post office here that ballot will get to us. And as Clerk Yarbrough mentioned, as long as that ballot is postmarked by Election Day, which is November 3rd, we will count ballots that arrive all the way through November 17th, as long as we know that the postmark was prior to or on Election Day. So the ideal thing is sign up now for your ballot, and you can do that online right at the clerk's website. And then get your ballot, vote it, and mail it right back in the postage paid envelope. It will get there in plenty of time if you do that right away.
Now, so what are the preparation for people who will wait for the election day, as habitually? How many polling places are going to be there in Cook County? And are you going to maintain the same number as last year?
Jim?
We will have a
full complement of polling places, just like we always do. Additionally, we're going to make sure that people have all the protective devices that they need. We're going to have masks. We're going to have the wipes for them. They'll have gloves. They'll have the shields, and because we want our judges and the people who are voting to be safe. And
So
additionally, they're going to be socially distanced.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was saying that they were going to be socially distanced as well.
Okay. So if somebody shows up, in the country, there are people who don't like to have a mask. If somebody shows up without a mask and insist on it, how you plan to deal with that person?
Very carefully, because we want everybody to be safe. We want everybody to be safe. So we're going to insist on people having their masks on. If we have a situation where somebody has a health challenge, then we're probably going to try to isolate that person from anybody else. We don't want people to be sick, and we don't want to expose anyone, whether it's our judges or our support staff or the voters, to be subject to that. We're on the lookout for that.
You're watching Muslim Network TV, and this is Imam Malik Mujahid, and with me is Karen Yarbrough, who is our clerk in the Cook County, and James Nelly. We'll be right back after these messages.
My wife, who she's a professor at the University of Cincinnati, who's Catholic, and by her watching and listening to our 3-year-old son watch Adam's World, she ended up taking Kalima Shahada. She embraced Islam because she learned so much about Islam and the other prophets. It really affected our life in a great way, and because of Sound Vision and Adam's World, we're Muslims.
I took my Shahada 15 years ago, and I actually am from a rural part of Ohio. And so I found the catalog for Sound Vision, and I ordered the tapes and the CDs and the books, and I used those, and especially for my little daughter, that's how we basically learned our Islam, and Islam entered our hearts through the wonderful works of Sound Vision.
Okay, assalamu alaikum, brother. I just want you to know that I love the Sound Vision website, that a lot of times when I'm looking for information, especially as it relates to homelessness, domestic violence, and women issues, I go to that website, and then I see what you've written, and then I copy and paste it, and spread the word, because the wisdom is there, so I can't do any better than what Sound Vision has already done.
Sound Vision is our survival guide. It is the organization that provides skills for Muslims how to survive and thrive in this community here in the U.S.
Assalamu alaikum, my name is Anam, I'm in 11th grade, and I grew up with Adam's World, and what it taught me was unity, respect, and love for the Muslim Ummah.
Adam's World is the greatest show ever made. Take me to the Kaaba, man. I love that puppet.
Assalamu alaikum. Open up your eyes.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, it's your brother Zain Bika from South Africa. One of the first educational programs ever produced for Muslim children was the ever popular Adam's World series. The colorful and comical Muslim puppets stole the heart of a generation. Sound Vision will be releasing brand new episodes of Adam's World with the launch of a Adam's World app. Subscribers will enjoy new Adam's World episodes as they are released, as well as all the classic episodes of Adam's World. So visit adamsworldapp.com now to learn more, subscribe, and enjoy new adventures of Adam and his friends. And let's keep helping tomorrow's Muslims today. Assalamu alaikum.
Adam's World. Believe me, there's a lot to see. Bismillah. Let's explore.
Welcome back to Muslim Network TV. This is Imam Malik Mujahid, and we're talking about elections, election arrangements, voting, early voting, anxiety about elections. Now, President Trump has announced that he likes volunteers to show up, and he wants to ensure that there's no voter frauds taking place, and he would like to send soldiers to observe elections. Have you received any formal instruction from the federal government how to accommodate these volunteer watchers? And do you have any system of volunteer watchers at this moment?
Let me say this, President Trump or the Congress or the Senate or whoever, we run the elections in our states, okay? And so we decide what's going to be here or there or wherever. He has no control over what we do in our elections. Our elections are safe. They're going to be safe in November, and he will have nothing to do with that at all. Jim, do you want to chime in? Because there's also a question about, he's saying that if he doesn't win, then the election was rigged. Well, if he doesn't win, he better pack his stuff and get moving because he will be tossed out if he isn't. there is I just heard Nancy Pelosi say just the other day that there's already a process in place in case you have somebody who doesn't want to leave office. And I'm sure they will use that if in fact he doesn't want to comply. Jim, do you want to add anything to that?
Well, just as Clerk Yarbrough said, our elections are run locally, and as far as suburban Cook County goes, Clerk Yarbrough's in charge, and we're not going to have soldiers at polling places. We have a process for poll watchers from certified civic groups and other organizations, and we encourage people, if they would like to be poll watchers and observe, there's a process for that. They can obtain credentials, they can appear in the polling places on election day and monitor what's going on. But nobody will be giving the judge's orders or telling anybody what to do in that polling place except the proper election authorities under the authority of Clerk Yarbrough.
What is the law about poll watchers who like to come and watch polls?
Jim?
The poll watchers have to be issued credentials, and they have to come from a certified civic or political group. And they can turn those in, and they are free to observe the election, observe the voting. Obviously, they can't observe people casting their ballots. They have to maintain a proper distance. We will be very aware of social distancing. We'll be very aware of making sure we keep the polling place safe for everybody. So the poll watchers will be required to have their masks and well, as the clerk mentioned earlier, we'll have PPE for everybody. There'll be sanitizers, gloves, but we want people, as long as they're not disruptive and in any way interfere with people's voting, poll watchers are always welcome.
Well, disruptors have become a norm, unfortunately. Protest and counter-protest, and people are showing up with guns while enjoying their First Amendment. They're bringing in the Second Amendment rights in the same place, and people have died recently. So what are the security arrangements for those people who do show up? And they may be civil in the beginning, but they may create a disruption. Do you have any arrangement? Because you told us that the federal government cannot interfere, they cannot send soldiers. Well, he wants to do that. He's doing it when it has been opposed by the local governments. So for the security of election, what will you do for the contingency plans? Will you have some officers ready at a short notice to visit a place to take care of law and order situation?
Certainly we will. And this is not our first rodeo. I mean, sometimes, we have disruptions at polling places because a lot of times there are people who are on opposite sides of an issue or opposite sides, period. And sometimes they are disruptive. We will have state's attorney's office on a regular basis to help us with this, as well as the attorney general's office. And then we have the Cook County sheriffs. So, anybody who wants to, cause disruptions, we've got a plan for them. Yeah, we
threat
do.
or a promise?
I'm sorry?
Is that a threat or a promise?
That is a promise. That is a promise. As I said, from time to time, there are disruptions at polling places. You have people who are standing outside who are on either side of an issue or either side of a candidate. And sometimes they, have words. As long as they're not touching each other or threatening or anything like that, it's okay. However, when they cross the line, then that's when we get the authorities in place, and then they will go to the proper place. Okay, they will take them to the proper place.
Okay, so are you working with the post office to see what is the level of their preparation in Cook County area?
We have an excellent relationship with our post office, absolutely excellent, and they are committed to delivering every single ballot to every single person and delivering the ballots to us. So all of these different things, and I watch some of this stuff on social media. I just ask if people would not, if they see something that and it seems like it's too good to be true, please don't repeat it. Just do not. You can go to cookcountyclerk.com and you can see exactly what's going on. And Malik, you said that you've already signed up to get your ballot. So that means we have your email address, and anything that changes or, whenever we get your ballot back, we're going to let you know. We have a tool that we're using to communicate with you directly. So some of this stuff is just trying to confuse people. And I'm asking people that if they want to know the truth, we are, in fact, the trusted source.
Tell me this. I mean, I trust you, and I trust the lawyer with you in your office. I mean, you guys know Chicago. I mean, you know the history and all of those things, and you know politics better than I do. As a consumer who uses post office often, because of the pandemic, I don't think because of the quality, but because of the pandemic, I had in April and May and June, I have so much of problem receiving my mail. Finally, my staff has to visit the post office, and after 6 weeks worth of checks, which were close to $70,000, were retrieved. Because the system, because of the pandemic, was disrupted. So in your knowledge, that system of disruption which caused has been taken care of, and now mail is going to become a regular. I mean, it has nothing to do with elections. It was a regular work related that I sent out a letter for donation appeal, reach people sending their money, except they're complaining that we're not depositing. And we have no knowledge of it. And we went into it and we realized after a couple of visits to post office that, there was a problem. And finally we received, and we don't know whatever we did not receive, we have no idea. So because of the pandemic, and because of the removal of mass processing machine, 711 of those, has a mass processing machine from the post offices where mail is processed in the Cook County area. Has those machines been removed? Yes or no?
I don't know. Jim, do you have any idea? I can just tell you, Malik, that we're depending on the post office to do what they said that they would do. But these mail ballot boxes that we're going to have in every single early voting place are the answer, in my view, to anybody who has some concern about the post office. We don't run the post office, but I mean, we've been pretty lucky in dealing with them. And I know what you're talking about, not to the extent that you're talking about it. There were days that I didn't get mail, and I usually get mail at home every single day. And then there were days that I didn't get mail. But that, I don't have that problem anymore. It's just not happening. Now, your question, I can't answer your question of whether they put these mail sorting machines back or not. Jim, do you have any knowledge about that?
I don't know, particularly with our local post office, if they did take any of these machines out of commission. But I will tell you, Malik, that first of all, election mail is given a priority under the law. And all the ballots and election-related materials that Clerk Yarbrough sends out is clearly marked and therefore given that priority.
Yes.
And the other thing is we have very sophisticated barcoding systems now. So we can track individual pieces of mail. That's why, as the clerk mentioned, with registering online for your mail ballot, we'll be able to send you an email to let you know when we're mailing the ballot out to you. And we'll be able to send you another email to let you know if you mail it back when it was received. On top of that, the postage paid envelope will speed the mail along, because that can be processed mechanically. It does not need an individual to stamp each and every one. That can be done by machine. And one of the things we've also arranged with the post office is that when the ballots are being returned, we will have our election operations center where all the mail ballots will be processed. And they will be making daily visits to the post office and picking up the mail directly from the post office. So we're going to take one of the steps out of there that normally, that you mentioned, for instance, that a postal worker will come to someone's home and deliver mail directly. We are going to cut the process out in terms of time and make sure that we will on a daily basis be going to the post office and picking up whatever ballots have been returned to the post office for us and taking those directly for processing to our facility.
Well, it seems that you, Clerk Yarbrough's leadership and James Nelly working together, you guys have a good system on your side that you're providing opportunity. Don't wait. Just
right.
go and drop off. I mean, early ballot. I have often casted early ballot, and it's very easy. You know, no wastage of time, no long lines. And now, because of the pandemic, concern for social distancing, people should be encouraged, as you are encouraging repeatedly, to do that. But when it comes to, there are people who watch and listen and do those things, and then there are people like me
Yeah, that's
who
true.
will wait until the last minute. So I think would Clerk Yarbrough, would you mind taking my suggestions and having a dialogue with the post office, whether their machine has been removed or not? If it has been removed, some places it is put outside in the air, which is being destroyed by the weather components. What can they do to protect what it will take to reinstall that? Because if they have taken $500 million to remove 711 machine, it's almost $1 million per machine of removal. So installation may cost that way. I think this will be, I mean, you have extraordinary career of service. I have been reading through Clerk Yarbrough. You have done an amazing job there.
Thank you.
And I remember also, James, when I was active, more active in political work, that it was not easy to find a person who is well trained in election laws. They have a unique field, and there are not many people. I mean, they're not advertising on highway that, hey, call this number. If you need.
No, they're not. No.
So you both know what you're doing, and so I think this is extraordinary help. You're watching Muslim Network TV, and with me are two amazing people, Clerk Yarbrough and James Nelly. They're expert in the area where I live, and they are showing the confidence in the system they have built. And this confidence does not come easy. We have a very bad history, but that's an old history.
It is.
Have been changed and improved to ensure things happen in a proper way. And when we come back after this brief break, I would like to ask them what has been historical development in terms of law and the culture of the Cook County and the Chicago area voting. We'll be right back after these messages.
What was it like when you started this network out, when you started Sound Vision those many years ago?
You know, after 9/11, one lady called me and she says, what is your channel which I can watch? And I say, I'm sorry, we don't have a channel. And you know what she said? She said, then how America will know about you?
SubhanAllah. Anything you want to say to the people who are watching? That we had one sister who messaged that she grew up on Sound Vision. What do you say to the people who have been long supporters?
Thank you. Thank you. It is because of you we are able to do all of that. So the generation of Adam's world, you need to take it over for the next generation. And that's my invitation to you. So keep telling everybody where to watch. They can watch it on Galaxy 19 satellite, Amazon Fire TV, Apple TV, or easy thing, muslimnetwork.tv, or our YouTube channel, or our Facebook channel. And with your help, inshallah, ladies, the one who called me, what channel should I watch Muslims on? Answer is here and now.
Assalamu alaikum. Open up your eyes.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, it's your brother Zain Bika from South Africa. One of the first educational programs ever produced for Muslim children was the ever popular Adam's World series. The colorful and comical Muslim puppets stole the heart of a generation. Sound Vision will be releasing brand new episodes of Adam's World with the launch of a Adam's World app. Subscribers will enjoy new Adam's World episodes as they are released, as well as all the classic episodes of Adam's World. So visit adamsworldapp.com now to learn more, subscribe and enjoy new adventures of Adam and his friends. And let's keep helping tomorrow's Muslims today. Assalamu alaikum.
It's Adam's World. Believe me, there's a lot to see. Bismillah. Let's explore.
Welcome back to Muslim Network TV. Tell me, what are your projections? What was the last elections? What percentage of people were voting through ballots? And what is the projection for this time for early voting and on-site voting?
I'm going to allow our attorney to speak to that. Jim?
Well, yes, we've seen a massive increase in interest on mail balloting. Our previous high number of mail ballots that were returned by voters was 97,000 in 2016. In this election already, as of today, we have over 330,000 applications for mail ballots. So we are we're more than 3 times on applications, and that number is only going to go up. So we are anticipating a tremendous number of mail ballots. I think an interesting thing we learned from the March primary election, when the pandemic was really coming to the fore, was that after analyzing the voting patterns, more than 55% of the total number of votes were cast either by mail ballots or by people early voting. So more than half of our voters voted prior to Election Day. And we anticipate between early voting and mail balloting, that's only going to go up.
Wow, so trend is in that direction. Is it possible that, are there discussion at the Cook County to turn all voting through mail in future?
We know that some states have done this already. Take, for instance, Oregon. They've been doing this for a very long time. We're going to consider it, but we want to be very careful about doing something to this degree. Oregon is a smaller state than the state of Illinois. And before we, run off and do that, we will, give it some careful consideration before we do something like that. I'm certainly intrigued with the idea of doing it, but we have some concerns that we want to work through before we consider it.
In some places, people are finding it's difficult to find election workers because of the pandemic concerns. Are you well staffed?
I can tell you that as of yesterday, I was told we need about 8,000 workers to manage this election. And I was told that we're close to almost 9,000. Is that correct, Jim?
Yeah, we're over our number. Obviously, though, we want to make sure we have plenty of people in reserve because there will always be last minute reasons why people, need to cancel or postpone their service. But we feel very good about the number we are at right now.
And Malik, we're election day is going to be a holiday. And so we're really reaching out to those juniors and seniors who are in high school to come and work with us on election day. Earn yourself a couple $100, learn a process. And when they're ready to vote, when they turn 18, they'll know the process, they'll know how to do it. Some of our best election judges are young people.
So, Clerk Yarbrough, here's the question. You don't trust them to vote, but you trust them to the voting system.
No, that's the law is they have to be 18. I mean, if it was up to me, 16-year-olds would be. They've got some real ideas about what should be going on. Okay. When I was in the legislature, I actually had a young person who came to me with an idea for a law. He said to me, he says, listen, I'm 16 years old. I know what I'm talking about, and I want to be able to vote. And, he says, can we change the law? And I said, well, you're a pretty progressive 16-year-old, but you're not all of your 16-year-olds aren't like you. So anyway, we had the conversation, and currently it's 18. Some places, it used to be 21, didn't it, Jim? Some years ago, it used to be 21. They rolled it back to 18. And so, 16, I don't know. Who knows?
Well, we have improved. I mean, there was a time when probably none of us could vote. So certain people will vote. So let's talk about it.
Yeah, this is the 100th year anniversary of suffrage, right? And even though as an African-American woman, I still probably, at that time, I just finished reading about a number of African-American women who really stood on the front lines to try to help push this along, and the white women did not want us to participate in it. However, people like Ida B. Wells, when they had a march here in Chicago, she said, either I march with you, because she was not going to march at the back of the line, either I march in the front of the line with you, or I don't march at all. So she's my shero.
Okay, all right. So, James, what has been a critical laws which have been passed in Illinois and Cook County, which has ensured better elections, better processes? What has been the progress? I mean, I believe, I'm a Muslim, and Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, has told us, faith does not stay at one level. Either it goes up or it goes down. So you have to work on it. I feel the same thing about democracy and our freedoms and liberties. Either it goes up if you're working on it, or it goes down. So how while the whole world is worried about what's going to happen in election and all that, what has been progression of law in improving that elections are better and fairer?
Well, one thing that Clerk Yarbrough deserves an enormous amount of credit, this November election, we are going to have ballots available to voters in 12 different languages. And it's through her efforts and the efforts of some of the members of the county board who passed that ordinance that people will be able to vote not only in a ballot in English, but they can request a ballot in 12 different languages. Arabic, Urdu, Gujarati are going to be 3 of those languages: Russian, Ukrainian, Polish, Spanish. So we are really at a point where, through the efforts of Clerk Yarbrough and our county board, that the ability for people to vote and be comfortable in casting their ballot is vastly expanded. And this will be available to voters at every single polling place in Cook County, as well as the city of Chicago. And that's something the clerk is very proud of, and she deserves a lot of credit for.
What used to be different type of frauds in Chicago elections, which were some sort of loopholes which have been since then taken care of?
Well, one of the single biggest things is that we have a paper trail for every ballot now. Every ballot has a paper trail. The folks who vote by mail will fill out a paper ballot. That ballot will be counted. That ballot will be scanned. So we'll have an electronic copy of every ballot as it's scanned. Similarly, when you cast your ballot in a polling place, whether you use a paper ballot or you use the touchscreen machine, the touchscreen machines have been upgraded now so that when you use a touchscreen, in the old days, it would just register your ballot electronically. And there could be a potential for manipulation of the electronic information. Now, everybody who votes on a touchscreen will also generate a paper ballot. The voter themselves will then take that paper ballot and put it through the scanner at the polling place, and that will be scanned and counted just like the hard paper ballots that people have. So every single vote, we will have an audit trail on that particular ballot, knowing that it was there. We have a scanned electronic copy, and we will literally have hard paper copies. So every ballot will be accounted for. That will really address any issue of voter fraud, because there won't be ballots cast that we can't account for, or we can't go back and look at a later time if we need to.
Now, how do you handle, Clerk Yarbrough, that people in South Carolina or North Carolina, one election was declared invalid because, people were just going around collecting people's ballots, which have been mailed to them, and filling them up the way they like and then dropping them off. Recently, I think there was some congressional election in which that happened just a couple of years ago. So in 2018, and I think it took several months of investigation and then a fresh election. What is that method of fraud, and how we can avoid that?
Well, let me say this. I live in Illinois, and I'm glad I live in Illinois, and we have the laws on the books that we have. Unfortunately, in some of these other states, they have some real challenges, and you couldn't get away with some of that nonsense here in Illinois. People talk about voter fraud, all the time. That, you mentioned in the beginning of this conversation about early and often. So, it's as it relates to mail fraud, first of all, it's difficult to do. Okay, it's difficult to do. And the second thing is, somebody wants to risk going to federal prison to do something like this. I feel bad for the people who live in those states that have these onerous laws on the books, and have legislators that are in Congress who support this kind of nonsense. But I live in Illinois, and I'm over the elections for Cook County. Jim, you want to talk a little bit about this fraud that's going on down there in South Carolina?
Yeah, that was an incident where there was what's called ballot harvesting. People sometimes collected ballots and voted them instead of the voter voting their own ballot, and then took the ballots, and in some cases, I believe, disposed of ballots that were not favorable to their candidate and kept ballots that were favorable to the person they were supporting. We have a very strong voter fraud system in Illinois, as the clerk mentioned, and anybody who attempts voter fraud and is found guilty of it, that's a felony in our state. That we take that very seriously, and that's why it doesn't occur other than on rare occasions. Voters in this election on mail ballots, as I mentioned earlier, will have to sign the ballot envelope on a verification certifying under oath that they cast that ballot and it was actually the voter to whom the ballot was addressed who filled that ballot out. If the voter doesn't want to drop off their own ballot, and we do have elderly people who are not mobile, and they want to use a drop box instead of mailing it back, there's another verification right on the voter envelope where they can designate somebody, a friend or a neighbor or family member, to drop it off for them. But they have to name that person in that verification, and they have to sign that verification saying that this person's authorized to drop off my ballot. So we have a very good chain of custody, a very good paper trail on all this. And if anybody were to try to go outside the parameters of the law, we would catch them, we would prosecute them, and they would go to jail.
Okay. So in the world where electronics make a huge difference, how elections are handled and how things happen and all of that, in 2016 elections, very reputed professors of computer science, computer scientists and professor of computers, and they said this, and I'm quoting them, that there is a strong evidence election was rigged against Clinton in 3 key states, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, were potentially manipulated. There was a deliberation. There are research papers about that. So how this electronic manipulation, now there is one interference which was Russia was accused of, which became a big investigation, that they were using trolls and things like that to campaign against one candidate and in favor of other candidate. And I felt that until the report came out and it was verified. But electronic manipulation, when there are too much dependence on electronic. So one method which you have here to safeguard is a paper trail, that everything which we are doing here in Illinois, and at least in Cook County, has a paper backup of it. But once results are tabulated and results are conveyed, how that it is possible. I mean, those computer scientists say there is a strong evidence of computer electronic manipulation. Who did that? How they did that? I'm not a scholar of these things, but what people are talking about on these issues.
Jim, you want to talk about the gentleman we have on board who actually scours our sites on a regular basis?
Yes, as the clerk mentioned, one of the things Clerk Yarbrough has done is made sure we get top-notch people. And we have one of the premier ballot security experts in the country, if not the world, working for our office. He is constantly testing systems. He is constantly making sure that we have safeguards built into our systems so that this cannot happen. One of the other things we do after the election or on election night, we first of all look for any obvious discrepancies. So for instance, if there were 200 ballots cast in a precinct and somehow 400 votes in a particular race appeared, we'd look at that to see, was there some technical glitch? It doesn't happen often. But we watch out for things like that, and we have a protocol and a system, so that would be red flagged for us, and we'd be looking at that immediately. And if necessary, we would go back and do a recount of that particular precinct to make sure the results were accurate. But again, this is not a common occurrence. Secondly, again, being in Illinois, we have very good state election laws, one of which is a mandatory 5% recount of the election results after the election. The State Board of Elections contacts all the local election authorities, such as the Cook County Clerk, and randomly selects 5% of the precincts. We don't know what they are until the State Board tells us. Then we run recounts in every one of those precincts to ensure that the numbers reported election night match up with the recount numbers. So we have strong systems to prevent any manipulation, and we have strong systems to catch it if it were to occur.
Thank you so much. Well, we just got a couple of minutes left, and I want to know this thing that, remember 2000 election, Bush versus Gore?
Oh my goodness. Hanging chads
went through, and now everybody is really afraid of that. What is the possibility to increase confidence in elections if President Bush, who is a Republican, and President Obama, as requested or appointed by the Congress, to be the watch guard, to bring confidence and keep an eye wherever there is a problem. Do you think there is a possibility of America accepting something like that? Because what I'm worried, if people are unsure about election, democracy erodes, more people become skeptic. And that's a recipe for dictatorship and authoritarianism. And so what do you think there's a possibility of something like that?
You know, this is the first time I've heard that. So thank you for sharing that with me. I think that people would look at that. First of all, Bush is a Republican, a real Republican, and Obama is a Democrat, a real Democrat. Trump is Trump from the Trumpism. Okay, he's not a Republican at all. We've never seen anything quite like what we're seeing here now.
Clerk Yarbrough certifies that he is not Republican.
Anyway, I think it would be an interesting, test to see the two of them to be the so-called czars over this election. But I don't think it's going to help the Trumpism. It's not going to help them at all. They don't trust either one of those guys. You know what I mean? So it shows like this that give us opportunity to talk to people about, what we're doing. They could ask their questions about, what they think and what they feel. And, hopefully we can dispel some of these myths and these just misrepresentations or just out lies. We haven't seen them all yet. I'm sure they're coming. I'm sure what's going to happen is somebody's going to say that the election was canceled, and somebody's going to say that the polling place was moved. But see, Malik, you applied for your ballot online, so you're going to know exactly from us exactly what the deal is. And of course, you can always call me up or send me an email and say, Karen, I heard the election was canceled. So I can send back to you and say, it was not.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. You both have been a great guest, loaded with information which you shared, and you have been successful in reducing somewhat of my anxieties, but not a whole lot. Well, thank you so much, Clerk Yarbrough and Attorney Nelly. We appreciate your candid conversation, and good luck with the elections.
Thank you for the invite.
And thank you, Dr. Abdul Wahid, for producing today's show, and Sher Dil Khan. You're watching Galaxy 19 satellite. We are always there 24/7 throughout America, Canada, and Mexico, Amazon Fire TV, Apple TV, and Roku, and of course on MuslimNetwork.tv. Peace. Salam.